Good afternoon again. So today we're going to be going ahead and going through or continuing our journey through John into chapter 6. We're going to do verse 1 through 14. And once again, this is a story that everybody's heard. And everybody's familiar with. But if you ever read a familiar story only to notice something new, that had always been there, just underneath the surface, that it is possible to see a miracle or read it and miss the entire message within the text. To have your hands filled but your heart unchanged. To walk away satisfied yet unaware that you just encountered the presence of God. So John chapter 6, verses 1 through 14 is one of these stories. We've heard it so often, we could recite the details. The hungry crowd, the boy with the lunch, the miraculous multiplication, and 12 baskets of leftovers. As everybody knows, we're talking about the feeding of the 5,000. But if we stop there, if we only see the surface, we miss the signs that point to something far greater. This is not just a story about bread and fish. It is about our God. The one who's always provided for our needs. Manna in the wilderness, loaves on the hillside, and ultimately, his own Son broken and given for us. From Genesis to John, from the wilderness to the upper room. This is the heart of God on display. Provision, presence, and purpose. And maybe that is part of the problem. We have read these miracles so many times that we have become numb to how sacred, how stunning, how supernatural Jesus really is. We have grown so used to the idea of him providing that we have lost the wonder of how he provides and why he does it at all. But this story, this moment near the Sea of Galilee, is meant to wake us up. This is a story full of subtle cues, sacred echoes, and deeper truths waiting to be discovered. And today we're going to take a deeper look because what the crowd missed, we cannot afford to. Let us dive deeper into this moment, into the hills near the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus once again met a very real need, but did so in a way that invited everyone to hunger for something more. Verse 1. After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. Then a great multitude followed him, because they saw his signs, which he performed on those who were diseased. And Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat with disciples. Now the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was near. This is not just an introduction. It is a declaration, because the setting matters. The crowd is not following Jesus out of devotion. They are following him out of desperation. Some have seen his healings, some have only heard. But all of them are hungry for something, and the need is real. And the timing is not an accident. John tells us it was near Passover. That is more than a date stamp. It is a reminder. The Passover was the moment Israel remembered God's power to deliver. It was the night the lamb was slain, the blood was spread, and the people walked free. It was followed by manna in the wilderness, daily bread, faithfully provided. And now here we are again, a crowd in the wilderness with no food and a need for something only God can provide. It is not just about geography. It is a spiritual history. Jesus is not just meeting a need. He is reenacting a moment. He is placing himself in the center of a very old story and showing them what they could not yet see. They were waiting for another Moses, but the greater Moses was already standing right in front of them. Let us not miss what they missed. Let us not stand in the presence of Jesus and reduce him to just a provider of bread. when he is so much more. Verse 5. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes, and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread, that these may eat?" But this he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have a little. Jesus does not ask the question because he lacks a plan. He asks the question to reveal Philip's heart. Philip does what most of us do. He calculates. He tries to lean on his own understanding. He thinks in terms of cost and of effort rather than promise and power. His first instinct is to explain why it cannot be done. This is not just a moment of uncertainty. It is a test of perspective. Jesus is inviting Philip to see what human logic cannot. That God does not ask us to solve what only he can supply. And this is not the first time Jesus has done this. In John chapter 4, if you recall, his disciples were confused when he said he had food they did not know about. He is often speaking on a different level than we can understand. He is always calling everyone to look higher, to think deeper, to trust more. Here again, Jesus is not seeking bread. He is seeking faith. How often do we respond like Philip, though? How often do we size up the problem and say there is not enough, instead of looking to the one who is more than enough? This moment is not just about feeding a crowd, though. It is about training the disciples to go deeper. Jesus is not only performing a miracle, he is shaping a mindset for the future. Verse 8. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many?" Andrew speaks up, but he does so with a reluctant tone. His words are hesitant, almost dismissive. There is a boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they among so many? He brings a possibility, but already doubts the outcome. His voice is the voice of many believers today, acknowledging what is available, but questioning its significance. Questioning the ability to make a difference in the noise of today's world. And yet, what he mentions is filled with meaning. Barley loaves were not the bread of kings. They were the bread of the poor. This was simple, humble food. And yet it becomes the foundation for a miracle. Not only that, but barley was used in the Feast of First Fruits in Leviticus 23. The very first portion dedicated to God, this boy is unknowingly giving God the first and the best of what he has. He does not bring much, but he brings it freely, and that is all Jesus needs. This is not about how much you have. It is about whether you're willing to place it all in the hands of Jesus. Because once it is in his hands, it is no longer ordinary. Verse 10. Then Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in number, about 5,000. Jesus does not rush this miracle. He prepares the people to receive it. Before anything multiplies, before any bread is broken, Jesus gives a command: make the people sit down. This might seem like a logistical detail, but it is a theological moment. He is making them lie down in green pastures. It is an echo of Psalm 23, where the shepherd leads his sheep to a place of rest and provision. John even notes the presence of grass, not because it mattered to the seating arrangement, but because it mattered to the symbolism of the story. This is not chaos. It is not desperation. It is peace. It is order. It is the presence of the shepherd among his people. And notice, they sat down with empty hands. There's no guarantee yet. No bread in sight, just the command to sit. and the trust to obey. Sometimes the miracle does not begin with movement. Sometimes it begins with stillness, with trust, with surrender. Before he multiplies anything, Jesus brings his people to a posture of expectancy. And are we willing to sit down when Jesus tells us to? Even when we do not see the answer to the solution yet. Verse 11. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples. And the disciples to those sitting down, and likewise of the fish, as much as they wanted. Jesus follows a familiar pattern here. One that we will see again in the upper room. He took, he gave thanks, he broke, he gave. This is not just a meal. It is a moment full of foreshadowing. The rhythm of this verse precursors the Last Supper, and it mimics the cross. Jesus will not just break bread. He will be broken. He will not just give food. He will give himself. And did you catch how the miracle happened? Not in one grand spectacle, not in a loud, dramatic fashion, but in simple obedience. Jesus gives it to the disciples, and they in turn give it to the people. The hands of Jesus become the hands of the disciples. And this is how God feeds the hungry still today. He places his provision in the hands of those who are willing to serve. The miracle moves to those who have surrendered. And the result? As much as they wanted. Not barely enough, but abundantly more. Dare I say, sufficient. Jesus is not stingy with grace. He is generous with it, and he invites us to be part of the delivery every day. Verse 12. So when they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain so that nothing is lost. Therefore they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. When everyone had had their fill, when the need had been met in full, Jesus gave one more instruction. Gather up the fragments that remain so that nothing is lost. Think about that phrase. This is not waste management. This is a message. Nothing in the hands of Jesus is wasted. Not a crumb, not a moment, not a life. When he works a miracle, even the leftovers matter. Because in the kingdom of God, the fragments still have a future. And maybe that is the part we've missed all along in this story. He doesn't just mean the bread here. He means people. Jesus did not just gather up the pieces of bread. He gathered up a picture of people. The ones who feel broken, used, or discarded. The ones who have been stepped over, overlooked, or left behind. The ones society calls useless, forgotten, or unworthy. The fragments were not a footnote. They were the finale. Because this is the gospel. The broken are gathered. The cast off are claimed. And what the world throws away, Jesus embraces in love. Don't want this moment to be overlooked either. 12 baskets. 12. Not 11. Not 13. But 12. I don't think that number is a coincidence. Let's be honest. Most of the time it's not with Jesus. I believe that there is one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. It is as if Jesus is saying there's more than enough for all of God's people. No tribe forgotten. No one left hungry. He's not just feeding a crowd. He's revealing his character. He is fulfilling a covenant and showing us that the rejected, the forgotten, and the overlooked are still valuable in the hands of the Savior. He is showing his disciples that what they had thought was not enough has now become sufficient. This is the kind of God we serve. He does not just meet the need, he surpasses it. And when we offer him our little, our humble, our hesitant gifts, he turns them into testimonies. Testimonies that keep feeding others long after the moment has passed. The question is, have we trusted him? Have we trusted him with what might seem inconsequential? And are we gathering the fragments, not wasting what God has done, but remembering it, sharing it, letting it build our faith again? Because our testimony reminds us of how far we've come, and also reminds us that our journey is not yet done. Verse 14. Then those men, when they had seen the sign that Jesus did, said, "This is truly the prophet who is to come into the world." They saw the sign. They saw the right words. They said the right words. But their hearts were not ready for what it truly meant. This crowd, they admired Jesus, but many would soon walk away unchanged. Not because he failed them, but because he refused to be reduced to their expectations. The miracle was not just to satisfy their hunger. It was meant to stir their hearts, to awaken faith, and to reveal who he truly was. And so here's the real question, maybe the most important one. When we are faced with the truth of who Jesus is, when we have seen his hand at work, when we have heard his voice through the word, when the evidence is right in front of us, will we embrace it? Or will we keep making excuses? Excuses like, it is not the right time. I need to get my life in order first. I just need to go to see one more sign. Maybe later, but not today. But what if today is that day? What if Jesus is not just inviting you to admire the miracle, but to be part of it? Because the people saw the sign, they spoke the words, but did they walk away truly changed? We've seen what Jesus can do with little. We've seen how he gathers what we normally would discard. We have seen how he fills what is empty and satisfies what is hungry. All we have to do is look within ourselves to confirm that. But now we must decide, what do we do with what we have seen? Are we content to be amazed, but still left unchanged? Or will we recognize that this is more than a miracle story? It is a challenge for transformation. And Jesus is still multiplying grace, still gathering the broken, still calling us to sit, to trust, to receive, and to follow. So let me ask you, have you given him everything you have? Have you trusted him with what feels too small to bother with? Have you truly accepted what you have seen? The transformation, the lives change. Because what Jesus did on the hillside, he's still doing today. He's not just feeding crowds. He's forming disciples. He's not just working miracles. He's changing hearts. And he's looking for those who are ready. But more than that, he is looking for those who are just willing to be changed.